Before words are spoken, before beliefs are named, there is a quiet place in the human heart, a place that recognizes truth before it is explained, a place that feels reverence before it feels certainty. Many people walk through life sensing that God has spoken, but wondering why his messengers appeared different, why some voices sounded softer, why some missions carried more trials, why some lives were marked by sacrifice more than ease. This reflection enters that quiet space, not to compare, not to argue, but to gently listen to how God describes his own messengers and what that description reveals about Jesus. Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 253. Those messengers, some of them we caused to excel over others. Among them were those to whom Allah spoke, and he raised some of them in degree. And we gave Jesus, the son of Mary, clear proofs, and supported him with the Holy Spirit. This entire reflection is built on this specific Quranic verse. This verse was revealed in a time when people were deeply attached to religious identity. Communities defined themselves by the prophets they followed. Lineage became a source of pride. Spiritual history became a point of competition. People argued over whose messenger was greater, whose story mattered more, whose path was closer to God. And into that emotional climate, the Quran spoke with calm precision, not denying honor, but placing honor exactly where God intended it to be. The verse begins with acknowledging diversity among messengers. Not all were sent with the same role. Not all carried the same burden. Not all were tested in the same way. Some spoke directly with God, some were raised in rank, and some were given signs that touched the hearts of the wounded and the rejected. This is not hierarchy for ego, this is design for guidance. Each messenger shaped by divine wisdom for a specific moment in human history. Jesus is mentioned here with tenderness and clarity, not as an abstract figure, but as a man sent with clear proofs, proofs that were visible, proofs that healed, proofs that restored dignity to the forgotten. The Quran does not list the miracles here because the audience already knew them, the blind seeing, the sick being healed, the broken being touched with mercy. What mattered was not spectacle, but compassion. The emotional condition of the people during Jesus' mission was heavy. Spiritual law had become rigid. Mercy was guarded instead of offered. Religion had become a measure of worth, and those who suffered felt distant from God. Into that pain, Jesus appeared with gentleness. He spoke to hearts that felt unseen. He reminded people that God was near, that divine love was not reserved for the powerful. This verse places Jesus among honored messengers, affirmed, supported, strengthened by the Holy Spirit, not abandoned, not isolated, not acting alone. His mission was sustained by divine help. This matters deeply because it reframes how suffering is understood. Support does not always mean ease. Sometimes it means strength to continue with compassion. The Quran's mention of Jesus here is brief yet profound. It does not argue identity, it describes relationship. Jesus is connected to God through support, through purpose, through clarity of mission. This invites reflection rather than defense. It asks the heart to consider, what does it mean to be supported by God while still walking a path of hardship? The verse also quietly removes the burden of comparison. Some were raised in degree, others were given different gifts, not to divide humanity, but to reach it. This speaks gently to followers of Jesus today. You do not need to diminish others to honor him. God himself honored him and placed him exactly where divine wisdom intended. In Islamic understanding, Jesus' life reflects devotion, humility, and reliance on God. He is not distant from human pain, he enters it, He touches it, he responds with mercy, and this verse preserves that image without exaggeration, without denial. For modern hearts, this verse still resonates. We live in a world obsessed with ranking, with platforms, with influence, with visibility, and yet God reminds humanity that excellence is not uniform, that worth is not identical, that guidance comes in different forms. Jesus' mention here is not loud, it is gentle, almost like a reminder whispered rather than proclaimed, as if to say, true impact does not always announce itself. Sometimes it heals quietly, sometimes it walks with the broken, sometimes it is supported by God in ways unseen. This reflection does not ask you to change who you are, it simply invites you to notice how God speaks about Jesus, with respect, with honor, with balance, as part of a larger story of divine guidance. The verse ends without conclusion, without command, leaving space. Space for reflection, space for humility, space for the heart to respond. And perhaps that's its greatest wisdom, that God speaks and then allows the soul to listen.